in the excavation log. Sloan Cameron here, on side to Petra. Me and the Whitefinders just found the coolest artifact I think I've ever... Again? Come on! Whoa, whoa, whoa! If you want to mess with these artifacts, you gotta go through me. Hey, I'm on to you! I gotta tell you, I wanna scream it out. Hey! I'm gonna show you, here's what it's all about. Up top, you big doofus! Rock and roll! Excavation initiation! Time to really drill it in. We did it! We had a party or what? Whoa, no way.
Welcome to Overwatch Champions Series Korea. I am Unknown at the commentary, and we have Wolf at the expert analysis today. Hey, Wolf, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, I had some health issues last week, but I'm definitely back in action. So I'm definitely ready for some good Overwatch. And speaking of good Overwatch, we're going to have some high stakes match on the table today.
That's right. So as you guys can see below today, we're doing LCQ and seeding deciders. LCQ being the last team to go into playoffs, and then seeding deciders are for the teams who are already qualified where they are going to stand. We did have some games that were played yesterday off broadcast. Some of the VODs have been put on Reddit, I saw, by OBS Sojourn and stuff like that, so you guys can check out some of the games. Runaway is out of the tournament.
Yeah.
They are eliminated, so
I did not
pretty
see that
wild.
coming.
I mean, you know, in a lot of ways, going into this tournament, we knew Runaway's roster was not top 2. We knew probably not top 3. We knew there was a chance that they could improve. They have Runner. Runner is one of the best coaches historically in Overwatch history, right? Especially here in Korea. But, you know, the signs were there that maybe they don't make it. But with the bracket that we had, if they didn't make it, it wouldn't have happened the way it did by losing to Genesis. And that one I didn't see coming. I definitely thought they were going to go deeper into this tournament than they did.
Yeah, of course, definitely. I mean, not discrediting any other teams. Of course, Genesis played well, and of course, Poker Face played well to beat Runaway yesterday. But definitely, when we saw the bracket, it was, hey, we definitely saw Runaway as one of the teams who would make it to the top 4 and not even go to the LCQ. But unfortunately, by the end of the round robin, they kind of slipped. And then, but still, we had confidence like Runaway. I mean, I don't see a world where Runaway is going to miss playoffs. But here we are, and Runaway is already off. Today, we will also. Well, not today, but for this weekend, we will also see the remainder of LCQ and see who's going to make it to those playoffs because only 2 teams are able to make it to the playoffs.
That's right. So we are going to be now moving into LCQ first and deciding which teams move further into that bracket, which will be going on today, tomorrow, and the following day as well, as Korea always is, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then, of course, that's our first match of the day, and then the rest is for seeding deciders. So you can see this is kind of the breakdown right now. VEC was eliminated. Only one team doesn't get an opportunity to play LCQ. Runaway has already been eliminated from LCQ, but they're on that list. So Poker Face, SPG, and Genesis still in that battle. And then you have, of course, the top 4 teams, and they will be not seeded by the regular season standings, but actually how they perform now, which is a pretty rare system in esports, but it allows you to actually make sure you have the best seeding for the best possible teams on their form right before playoffs and not based on earlier results. I think it's a pretty high chance we'll see WAC and Falcons top that list, but here is the bracket. As you guys can see, Runaway losing to Genesis, only getting 1 win in that series, and then dropping 3-0 to Poker Face yesterday. Pretty shocking result.
Yeah, exactly, and Genesis SPG on the upper side of the bracket, so this means that whoever wins their first match today will be able to clinch their fate into the playoffs. So a lot of things on the board today because you never know what's going to happen on the lower bracket. You just don't want to risk it because Runaway was, well, they probably didn't want to risk it, but you know how that ended up. So yeah, you definitely don't want to have, and Poker Face, we didn't even expect Poker Face to be on the lower side of the bracket either. And it definitely is going to be a very difficult match on the lower side of the bracket. So if you're Genesis or SPG, you want to finish this today and now.
Yeah, and if you're Poker Face, I think you really have a lot of eyes on who's going to be dropping down. You already did end up losing to SPG earlier on. You might have faced them again, make some improvements if they do end up dropping down. Here's the seeding decider round robin. Just like Japan, it is a 4-team round robin, so you do see the first place actually gets a first round bye and opponent selection. The second one will just have that bye. So similar to other formats we have out here in Korea with other esports tournaments, getting that first place spot does matter a lot. So that battle between WAC and Falcons will likely be our candidates for first place. It means so much.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, if you just look at the format, you would see, like, you might think that, hey, what is the meaning of all this? They already, like, clinched themselves at the playoffs. But if you kind of look at it, like, getting one match, especially in this, like, meta or month where each week we see a different meta, just having the opportunity to observe other teams, get to play some other stuff, gets you a very clear idea of what your game plan is going to be. So that's going to be really important. And here is the map pools we have been playing this for the past week, also in the Japanese region as well. You can see that there's a few changes. Lijiang Tower is out of the control lineup, and there are some maps that are only being played in the Asia region, so this is exclusive to the Asia region, so you won't see this in the NA EMEA variants of OWCS.
Notably, Busan is in the pool. Oasis also has joined, and then you have Numbani and Eichenwald. Those are the two of the older maps that we haven't seen for a while that are some of my favorites. And then Junkertown's back in. You have Havana as well for Escort. So a pretty wide pool. And, we've talked about this a lot on Japan, but for those who don't watch Japan, you also get to pick the map type as long as it's been played if you are the losing team. So there's going to be some shakeups for sure, as that rule came into effect yesterday on those unbroadcasted matches. And then here are today's matchups. So Genesis versus SPG, we've been talking about this a lot already, but then we have Yeti against WAC. Yeti definitely coming in as underdogs, but I think that if you get an upset win here, it could actually shake up the entire standing. So a very important matchup.
Yep.
And then arguably the best match of the night, Falcons versus FTG. That is going to be a big one.
Yeah, I think, if I'm not mistaken, this match was very close in the round robin as well. So it's definitely going to be interesting. Not only because last time around there wasn't the new map system, and we've seen a lot more closer matchups after the new map system was implemented, because we've seen, like, in that new system, we've seen that teams, even if they were ahead, they were clearly not ready for some of the maps or not prepared for some of the maps and the compositions the losing team was throwing at them. So it's definitely going to be interesting. And also, taking a sneak peek at the LCQ matches yesterday, we've seen a lot of very different comps coming up. So I'm really surprised and expecting to see very different matchups here today.
I think we definitely will, as I think the star lineup for Genesis yesterday was Decay, Choi Se-hwan. They absolutely crushed their counterparts on Runaway, and Decay swapping between the Tracer and the Echo, going back and forth on that, something that is an extra layer of flexibility that this team has. We also saw Kalios playing support, so he ended up playing support yesterday. You were telling me he's actually the highest ranked support player on his team right now in terms of the ladder, so perhaps he's just doing such a great job in ranked that they decided that he's going to do the support role better than their actual support lineup, and I can't blame them.
Well, I mean, Kalios, having known for, personally, he has been playing support and ranked for a long time. So maybe we might see that support Kalios in play today, but this is SPG. The players are on the stage right now. This team has good memories against Genesis. They won 3-0 against Genesis, so they will be having that confidence in. However, this Genesis team looks like, oh wow, is that like Dino Dance?
I don't know what it is, but I know Twitch chat's going to be Dino dancing now. Yeah, look, this team I think has its own identity, SPG, and they do look very happy. They're always a little hyped when they do their walkouts. They usually don't keep it boring. Let's talk about rosters real quick. Obviously,
no Kalios support.
No Kalios support. But they did get it done against Runaway with Kalios support, so they did pull it off yesterday. But we'll be Maka back in today with Teru and Decay, Choi Se-hwan. That's the star part of this lineup. It's the DPS line. Kellen, he'll get it done. You could trust him on the tank line, but it's Decay and Choi Se-hwan that outclassed Runaway, and that was a huge reason why they were able to advance to the stage of the tournament themselves. And I've got my eyes on that matchup because I think for SPG on the other side, one of their weakest parts of the lineup is their DPS. Their support line is super strong. Tuyu, arguably a much better tank actually than Kalios and Kellen. So I think that for Sin Prizzy, maybe play around something like an Orisa composition, play a little bit slower, or even run Sigma. Support your DPSs so that they can actually try to win those longer fights against Decay and Choi Se-hwan. Because if you just go straight up in Tracer Sojourn versus Tracer Sojourn or Echo Tracer versus Echo Tracer, I feel like this is going to be a tough matchup for Sin Prizza.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Wolf, this is going to be likely, if it comes to the DPS players, definitely Sin Prizza is going to be on the backside. However, we are ready for an interview from members of both teams. So, Quest, for the translation, let's go.
Thank you very much, Unknown, and we are back with the first broadcasted LCQ match of the day. And of course, we have the announcer Lee Si-yoon on stage for the actual interviews. And we have the team reps from Genesis and SPG. And on Genesis side, we have Undine.
네, 코치님 반갑습니다. 자, 다음으로는 SPG 팀도
And on SPG side,
안녕하세요. SPG에서 코치를 맡고 있는
we have
모부기라고
Mobugi.
네, 모부기 코치님도 반갑습니다. 자, 먼저 모두의 예상을 깨고
And
LCQ에 올라온
both teams have beaten all odds to come out on top on the LCQ. And did you expect to win the LCQ match, your first LCQ match yesterday? And I think that we didn't predict to win, but we worked hard to win. And because Runaway's form isn't very good at the moment.
예상을 했습니다.
And on the flip side for SPG, they did predict it.
저희가 이제 라운드 로비 때는 좀 아쉬운 성적이
Because
있었는데
while we didn't perform as well in the round robins,
성장하는 느낌을 많이
but we felt that we were improving every week.
8분전 때도 보고 이 정도면
And
충분히
and based on our match, especially against Team Falcons, I think that we really felt the improvement during that.
자, 먼저 제네시스 팀. 어제
And
이제
on
러너웨이
Genesis, for
라인에서
this question goes to Undine.
선수가 갑자기 1세트 부산에서
Kalios
힐러로
role
깜짝
swap to
등장했습니다.
support in
이게
map
어떻게
1
된
yesterday in
일일까요?
Busan. So what was the game plan behind the swap and what happened?
힐러 쪽에서 좀 보완이 필요하다고 생각을 해서
We felt that we needed
칼리오스
to
선수를 몇 번
improve our support line,
스크림에서 넣어봤었는데
and we tried him out in the
결과가
support role
생각보다
during
괜찮아서
scrims, and he played pretty well.
이렇게 해봤었는데 어제는 스크림 때처럼 안 나온 것 같아서
And I think
있는
I think he
경기가
still played well.
자, 그렇다면 지난 라운드 로빈 막대결에서 SPG를 상대로는 좀 3대
And
0으로 쓰라린 패배가
This next question goes to, again, Undine. Genesis suffered a 0-3 loss against SPG, but is Genesis confident enough to 3-0 SPG today?
네, 자, 오늘 경기
And he
기대해
says,
봐야겠습니다.
I don't know about a
자,
3-0,
그렇다면
but I think that as long as
라운드
we
로빈에서
stick to our game plan today, I think we'll be able to win.
제네시스를 다시 만나게 됐습니다. 오늘
And for
경기도
Mabugi,
저번 승리와
SPG faces off
마찬가지로
against
똑같이
Genesis in the
승리
LCQ
이뤄낼 수
once
있을까요?
again. So has there been any change to the game plan?
충분히 이길 만하다고 생각합니다.
And I think that as long as we stick to how we perform and as long as every player is performing as well as they did, I think that we'll be able to win. And that was it with the first team rep interview of the day. And before we head into map 1, I'm going to send it back to Unknown.
All right, thank you, Quest, for the expert translation. And we're going to Nepal for the first map. So this, like, one of the things that we've been seeing after this map new system is that we're seeing a variety of maps.
Yeah, we really are. And we're also seeing a variety of compositions on Nepal right now. We'll see what these two teams' read are when we get into the game itself. But really cool to hear from Undine as well. I actually didn't know he was working with Genesis right now. And it's a player I've
Element Mystic with Tracy Juan, and also New York Excelsior with Kalios as well. So I think a little bit of previous history. There, but definitely Genesis, if you
more playing around, slow pushing towards points and looking for like javelin follow-ups, killing the DPS lineup
a 117 and a 216.
Oh, exactly. That's the reason why I didn't really talk about that stuff just yet. I think a lot of this is building up that synergy throughout the season, because all of these teams came together. These players have previous relationships. They've played with each other in solo queue all the time, but actually building these teams up throughout the regular season is a lot of learning. And if these rosters stay together moving into next season, for example, as well, I think the level of play will continue to rise. But I think it's weight them based on that.
Exactly, and so a lot of stories, not just about Sunprisa and Genesis, like in these two matchups, but like the matchups in general. We definitely are going to see a lot of rematches coming, of course, because in the round robin everyone played against each other. So and there will be a rematch of some sort, and we'll.
That's what we're all here for, and very happy to have it back. This really does remind me of the Contenders days, like back in 2019, 2018, where we had a smaller LAN environment, right? But we had regular matches all the time, a ton of Overwatch happening, so fans had so many opportunities to go see their best friends, or their best players, rather. As first time coming to watch Overwatch live, hoping for a full set.
Yeah, they want to go, the series is going to go distance.
Yeah, I want 5 games. I think this one definitely could.
Yep, they definitely could. I think, like, on paper, if you just look at the, like, player names, Genesis should be favorites. Like you said, of course, not just the DPS players, but all, like, most of these players on the side of Genesis has been previously on the Overwatch League, whereas SPG, I guess, for the exception of 2U, everyone was on the Contenders level. But if you just look at recent, like, results, it doesn't, like, point necessarily to Genesis.
Yeah, and I really think a lot of this series is going to come down to what the focus has been for SPG to try to deal with this DPS lineup, because Kalios and Kellen, I feel like they're very strong players. We know this, right? We've seen them play over the last few years at an extremely high level, but you know, I think that they're the manageable part, you know, and then Teru and Maka, probably a stronger support lineup, that's for sure. But I think a lot of how the meta is being played right now is about breaking the tank or winning the DPS fight. And in Overwatch 1, we didn't always have DPS fights because, you know, Widowmaker's got to deal with like a Winston flying at her, a Diva flying at her, you know, whatever. Cassie's going to have to deal with all that pressure. But in Overwatch 2, because there's one less tank, like the game is played either about, oh, I killed the enemy DPS, now focus the tank, or focus the tank first. I think 2 can have a slight edge going into this one if they play around him. And I think if that's the strategy here for SPG, we could have the upset come through. We could have that full set, that 5-game series.
Oh, another Lee Min fam.
So many.
Yep, Lee Min, the man of the moment. At least the WGG Esports studio in Seoul at the current moment. A lot of fans. I guess we are still trying to get ready for the match, as, of course, the players want their settings, hardware settings, software settings, all just set perfectly for the best performance possible. We apologize for the delay a little bit. We don't know what the issue is at the current moment. I guess it might be some, I don't know if it's hardware settings or whatnot, but it looks like we are going in there as we see the player counts. This usually means that we're ready to go into match.
Means a dubstep button is going to be pressed soon, unknown,
Yep.
and the players look ready. Lee Min putting his glasses back on. Teru taking a sip of water, but it's almost Overwatch time, and Decay, Choi Se-won, they've been heavily criticized throughout this tournament, but I think oftentimes weighed down by poor performances from the tank lineup, from the support lineup. But I think if they actually pop off, live up to their potential, they should be coming into this series as favorites. We'll see what Simprisa Gaming want to do in terms of that tank lineup, what compositions they want to run, because strategically, I think they may be able to eke out an advantage.
All right, so a lot of, I guess, very different win conditions right now. It looks like, from what Wolf said, we can definitely think about Genesis, about being the sword and how Simprisa can kind of parry out the sword and just disarm the side of Genesis, because Genesis' win condition, of course, they won 2 matches so far this season, but their 2 wins have all I wouldn't discredit Tank or the supports, but a major part of Genesis wins were due to the advantages that the DPS lineup made up. And SPG, if they want to win, they definitely want to negate the win conditions of Genesis, which is going to be the DPS lineup. We're still in a little bit of a delay, but of course, now the real question is which round sub map of Nepal is the RNG gods going to give us with?
Sanctum.
Sanctum.
It seems like it's always Sanctum. That's like that's generally what I associate with Nepal the most. Is just, you know, boops off the inner point, some wild fights around the choke points, and then in this meta, it has been widely, if you win that first fight and you end up getting control of the point, you have ult economy advantage, you're just still in the choke. Like, no matter what the comp is. Like, in the past, it's like, oh, he's running Reinhardt.
All right, we're finally getting that call that the game is ready. So, ladies and gentlemen, we give you Nepal.
Simpler times.
Aww. Wait, is that Hanzo and Genji?
Yep.
Oh dear, those were the times.
All right, fans out in full force. And it is going to be an Orisa battle to start things off. It looks like, at least in the hovers. And I do like this for Simprisa Gaming.
I am seeing a Vera here.
They're just trolling you.
But before we go, we finally do this. We are going in on Nepal, and it's going to be Village for our first map. Genesis going to go with the Cassidy instead of the Sojourn. That 8 is going to be Decay trying to click on heads, but is very low himself. Needs to get healed up, and Decay was going to fall first, and it is going to be Aid who wins the first hit scan battle. So Simprisa, with that numbers advantage, is going to pressure the side of Genesis. Some more kills onto Teru, so it looks like Simprisa is going to get first cap and have that choke point advantage that you had, Sidewolf.
No, Decay obviously outranged by the Sojourn here, so this is the big major factor for Simprisa Gaming winning this first fight. And when you're going Cassidy, you need to win the first fight so you can actually get onto the point. Now Decay will have the challenge of trying to get to this point without getting his head taken off by Aid. Choice1 has to create some disruption to get him into range. Now he has successfully gotten towards this point and can actually fight with his squad.
All right, Aid's railgun charge just went wide a little bit. Both tanks reasonably low. This can be anyone's fight so far, but at least we've been taken down early. It means that, despite the Kitsune Rush, it is going to be numbers advantage for the side of Genesis. It looks like Simprisa is getting flushed out of the point, and the flip happened there early, so it is going to be Genesis lead inside of Progress. That was an early flip. That was a lot earlier flip than I expected, Wolf.
Yeah, well, Decay ends up getting on the point for free. We had the first-person view of Aid there as well and just wasn't able to hit those shots. You point out the railgun going wide, and once you miss that charged-up shot on the Cassidy, you can't really break into the point very easily as 2U, and they actually just gave up control, so a bit of a mistake there from Simprisa Gaming. Now they have a lot of ultimates they can use here at the Sound Barrier, namely, to try to get on top of this Cassidy, but Aid's already chunked out.
All right, Aid with another shot at that railgun here and makes it happen as Maka is taking out. This is why they picked the Sojourn. Now Genesis, despite their ultimates, will not be having the opportunity to use them. And Simprisa, yes, they did have to use the Terror Surge, but this is a major win for the side of Simprisa Gaming. This is a very cheap win.
Now, I think using the Terror Surge might have been a bit overzealous there, but they'll take it at this point. They get to keep the Sound Barrier, and if Aid can maintain line of sight advantage on Decay, they could still hold this point, but Genesis intentionally didn't use any ults because they knew that after that first pick, they weren't going to win the fight. They don't waste Sound Barrier here.
All right, this is Genesis trying to get out from the left side corner here. Deadeye from Joel actually connects to Hyunjae. Hyunjae now means that it's going to be the Sound Barrier denied for the side of Simprisa Gaming. And Teru's Sound Barrier was used for extra support, and it looks like Genesis with the use of... Wow, they used a lot of ultimates in this fight, though. Simprisa Gaming is getting staggered a little bit, so it's going to be about like 60 to 70 progress for the side of Genesis before Simprisa Gaming can actually have a real fight.
And the Kitsune Rush isn't great for the Sojourn in this composition for trying to get through the Orisa, so it's not actually that huge of an advantage that Simprisa Gaming have right now in terms of ultimates here. It's going to be about the execution of this next fight. And you can see, obviously, Maka going to have his own to match it soon, but the timing could be huge here for Simprisa as 8 actually flanks around.
Decay taking down Hyuntae was exactly what they needed, despite the ult disadvantages here. Simprisa Gaming investing the Kitsune Rush and taking down Decay and Teru. Kellen falls soon after, so this is going to be a flip for the side of Simprisa Gaming. We have a back and forth map.
I really thought it was done when Decay got that pick onto Hyunjae again, but this actually ends up being, weirdly enough, a huge boon for Simprisa Gaming because he died, they didn't commit the sound barrier for the contest. They get the fight anyways, and now they're going to keep the sound barrier for what is likely going to be the last fight of this first round. Huge for Simprisa Gaming. Terra Surge, there you go.
Is there Kellen using the Terra Surge? However, ultimates in desperation for the side of Simprisa, but I don't think it will change the general direction of the fight. Genesis is up cleanup duty now, and it looks like Village is going to the side of Genesis, and it will. A little bit back and forth, Wolf, but in the end, Genesis, I think they, well, there's a pause there, but
we'll have some time to talk about it.
Yeah, so to be honest, Genesis had no right winning, I guess, that map, especially after, I don't know, the 4th team fight or something like that.
Sure. I mean, it looked like after they failed that fight where the sound barrier was still up for Simprisa, that should have been the map, right? They should have been able to have the advantage no matter what, but some really good calls from Decay. His Deadeye, where he was able to snipe Hyunjae in the previous fight, like 3 fights ago, where he was able to kill him so they could actually then drop the sound barrier, was, I think, the most coordinated we saw from Genesis on that first round, because they clearly wanted to set up a place to catch Hyunjae and then drop sound barrier immediately after they had that advantage. Because if he forces the sound barrier, if he panics when the Deadeye comes out, then they could just wait it out and then sound barrier out. So that was kind of a checkmate move with Decay having that angle. And then the second fight right after that, he instantly picked Hyunjae as well. So clearly the game plan here is they know Hyunjae's positioning, they're trying to focus him down in these fights, and they're doing a great job of it. And that's a wise choice, because if you're trying to kill 8 or 2U, 8 has the range advantage. So it's just so difficult. This play in particular right really here, that was huge. And his Deadeye zoning here allows them to have full control over the point and get the cap as well. And then they have, obviously, the advantage. When you get the Cassidy on the point with an Orisa, breaking that, even with a Tracer, is just so difficult. The point gives you a wall you can operate around as well, so it's really difficult for Aid to then punish you on Sojourn. So Genesis, some shaky moments there, and there were some fights that they definitely should have won, but the game plan looking pretty good overall.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Decay having immense value on the Cassidy pick. Sometimes there are arguments on whether Cassidy is better or not than the Sojourn. I think it offers different things, but at the current moment in Genesis team plan right now, Decay is definitely kind of reaping the rewards of the Cassidy pick so far. And I'm hearing from production that there was a slight Maka sound issue after the round ended, but has been fixed and the game will resume very soon.
Yep, sounds good. Yeah, I think the discussion about Sojourn versus Cassidy is often not as nuanced as it needs to be, because obviously Sojourn outranges Cassidy, but what Cassidy does is a lot larger, more consistent DPS. And so if you can operate around the Cassidy well, like the Cassidy is actually better than Sojourn. It's really not about which hero is better, it's about how you use it. And I think I've seen way too many comments unknown this season about people being like, well, he can only play this, or you can only play that, and he should be able to play Sojourn. He will play the Sojourn at some point, and he's actually playing it right now, on a point where there's a little bit more space to work with.
Yep, and we're seeing Chisewan on the Echo. This is something. Well, this has been a trend for the round robins when the round robin was on, and Genesis yesterday played Decay on the Echo. So I guess it was a tactical decision to have Chisewan on the Echo here. Aid needs to make those railguns happen if they want to win the initial plan and assume control, but at the current moment it is the neutral fight so far. Oh, I talked about neutral, one frame into it and Kellen falls. Chisewan trades out Argon, but still having a tank means that you can have the space, so it is a little bit, it's a small win on favor of Sunprisa Gaming. The cap is there from Hyunjae, so that control from having a tank actually mattered here.
Yeah, this is the first time we've seen a big mistake from Kellen in terms of the tank matchup. Just way out of position there, way too far forward, and a good punish there from Sunprisa. And this is the tank battle I was saying should go in their favor. It looks like they just understand how to play the Orisa battle a little bit better. Decay in danger here.
Decay not having that much charge on the railgun. Aid with 75% is probably looking for a snipe on either the support or maybe even the Echo, but the early Kitsune rush is not going to matter as Chisewan takes that to you, so Sunprisa Gaming is going to lose a lot of momentum. And Genesis, at any moment now, at their choice, will be able to make that flip happen. Not yet, though.
Yeah, a little bit slow to actually capitalize on this play, and actually they're just not even going to get it at all. That definitely shouldn't have happened. They should have been able to get onto the point and actually push that advantage.
Oh, but Aid is taken down. I thought that was a railgun, but it was Kellen who takes the kill credit there, and is Decay going to be with pressuring to you with that overclock? Not going to find that kill. Once again, Kellen takes the kill credit for that, but however, it was good play by Decay to apply pressure. Yes, Genesis did eventually flip the point, but Wolf, I just believe that it should have happened a lot better.
I should have, definitely. And I think Aid, that team fight they lost where they still kept the point, Aid was playing super greedy, and he's been picked a few times here trying to go on these cross angles. You know, we've seen Widowmaker on this map, you know, in Overwatch 1 a few times where you try to do something greedy and crazy and flank. He's trying to do a little bit of that, and if it works, you look like a god, you look like a genius, but if it doesn't, you just get focused and then your team loses the fight. So you have to be careful.
This is going to be a really important fight with all the, well, probably Ultimate's going to be used up on both sides. The overclock used by Aid and Maka using the Kitsune Rush to open up the fight. They want to take hold of this choke point here. Sunprisa disengaging until the Kitsune Rush expires. However, Maka takes down Argon, so this is going to be a lot of DPS pressure alleviated from the side in favor of Genesis, and it looks like Genesis, with only just the Kitsune Rush expended, is going to assume control on this choke point.
Yeah, the Terra Surge is just so hard to fight into as Sunprisa. They are trying their best to get into a position to do so.
Kellen uses the Terra Surge to just fend off every member of Sunprisa Gaming, and Tuyu is going to use these his ultimate of zone, but no casualties on either side yet. Yes, Chisewan is forced out of his copy form, duplicate form, but still no progress on side of kills on either side. Sunprisa is able to get out of that choke point, however. Okay, maybe some progress as Argon takes that Chisewan, and is on the point. Luciman takes that to case, so this is probably going to be a flip in favor of Sunprisa Gaming.
Yeah, it looks like Sunprisa will finally get this. Argon with a really clutch play there. They greeted forward there. Choice One did on the Echo to try to actually get some additional charge, and then he was put low, and then Argon actually blinked past Genesis and then took him out. That was a really huge play for them, a huge win for them. He's now going to swap over to Symmetra here because he knows that there's no ult economy for him anymore. Going to stick with the Tracer, actually. Thought perhaps that would have been a huge opportunity for them to win a surprise fight showing up with the Symmetra, but they do not commit to try to break this front line. See what he can get done on this Tracer. Very tough.
This is going to be last fight territory probably for the side of Genesis. Decay with that overclock is going to have to be the hero for the side of Genesis. No casualties as of yet. Aid very low, but Sunprisa, oh, there is that headshot kill onto Aid. That is going to be a lot of damage denied for the side of Sunprisa Gaming. Overtime is there, but Genesis is making the flip happen. Tuyu with the huge Terror Surge, however, will not be able to make it matter as he will be taken down by Kellen, and Genesis win that team fight. That was a very uphill fight for the side of Genesis, but they make it happen.
Yeah, they did make it happen. Decay with that opening pick, and now Aid's going to use this, but it's way too late. Hoping for a flank there. He is shut down. Good read from Genesis. That should be the map.
Yep, there's going to be desperation touches from Hyunjae and Tuyu swapping on to that Doomfist for, I guess, extra survivability and the touch mobility, but it doesn't look like it's gonna be very fruitful for the side of Simprisa Gaming as Genesis is taking down members of Simprisa Gaming one by one. And Genesis takes the first map against Simprisa Gaming this entire season.
Yeah, first time. And, you know, the play we saw from Decay there where he was able to actually take out his opposition in aid was what led to their victory in the first place. And, you know, when you take out a Sojourn who has overclock in an advantageous defensive position, that is the one way you're going to break through that composition. Your Orisa then has power, you can push through. And Taro, or sorry, excuse me, I think actually kind of panic ulted there by himself when they just focused him down. I think if he had tried to use that in an extended fight on a touch, definitely could have worked out better for them. But the other thing to keep in mind with how this map went down was like a lot of the plays for the side of Genesis had to be clutch outplays. And it was Decay who did it. For both rounds, really, he was the one who was like, all right, well, forget about ult economy, forget about positioning. I'm actually going to find the Lucio who has ult. Yep. I'm going to dash in with overclock and instantly kill the opposing Sojourn. And if he just dashes in like that and actually doesn't get the railgun shot and kill him, he just instantly dies. They lose the round. We go to round 3. But like, he's making the clutch plays happen. He's not afraid. He knows what the win cons are. And that's why I've always loved Decay as a player. I know he's been, throughout his history, a controversial player. Is he playing? Is he not playing? And Overwatch and all that stuff. And people were like speculating about his attitude. But my read on this guy is that he's got such incredible game sense. And he's been a player for so long that he knows how to clutch these moments out. And is it going to be a top 3 hit scan player in OWCS Korea by the end of this? Probably not. But he's good enough to actually save them on the second round and win it 2-0. And that's why I've loved watching this player over the years.
All right, a lot of credit towards Decay as Genesis takes map 1. Is this going to be the start of a 3-0, or is Simprisa Gaming going to fight back? We'll see that after a short break, so don't go anywhere. Alright, welcome back to Overwatch Champion Series Korea. We're currently on map 2 on our first match of the day with Genesis versus Simprisa Gaming. Oh, we have some interesting stats here. So, Hybrid, we don't know what type SPG is going to choose, but we do know that they did pick Midtown, New Queen Street, and Esperanza.
Yeah, and like a lot of the criticism we had of our previous map format was a lot of teams just played the same thing. That's why there's a lot of maps that we don't have data for. Obviously, some of them weren't available actually in the previous system, but both of these teams, for the context of these stats, were 1-7 and 2-6. So a lot of these zeros that you see on your screen are because they got 3-0'd by almost every team, right? So
I believe that this pick, the stat, may just be based on LCQ yesterday, maybe, because there's no way that they haven't chose any flashpoints. Probably.
Well, Saravasa, they did play.
Yeah, and also New Junk City. Genesis played New Junk City yesterday against Runaway, so we don't know. I believe that
that's a good potential extra point of context as well. As we are going to Shambali Monastery. So again, for those who don't know, we don't just go control hybrid push now. Losing team has map selection and type selection. So by map selection, we really mean any map that's in the pool, as long as that map type hasn't been played already. So we're going straight to Shambali Monastery. An interesting choice here for SPG, given that they haven't played it that much, right, in the past. So see what their plan is going to be. Trying to perhaps throw off the tank lineup a little bit.
Yeah, as for Shambali Monastery, we've seen a little bit of Risa yesterday in Shambali, a little bit of Sigma as well, but it's interesting to see what I haven't heard of any substitutions so far, so it's going to be 2U once again. So I mean, if they were intending to play the ball, I would expect Milgari to come in, so maybe a little bit of more of that Risa. What do you think about the Ramatra in this map here?
I think Ramatra has a place on maps, escort maps in particular, as wow, it's actually going to be a substitution here. As Kellen is out, Kalios in. Just to finish the point on the Ramatra, I think he does have a place, but I think his agency is quite limited compared to the other tanks in the pool right now. So while I think if you build a comp around him, like we've seen some Mei Ramatras in Japan, you know, that can be strong, but I think it will just always be outclassed by better DPS players just poking at range against you. So what you have a pretty good read oftentimes on some of these teams and why they would play Kalios over Kellen moving into a map like this. What's your take on this substitution coming through?
Well, I mean, just based on what they played yesterday, we've seen the Sigma composition in play. We've seen Sigma, we've seen Sigma, Mei, Symmetra, Lucio, and Baptiste here. So if you want to play the Sigma, it's probably going to be Kalios, of course. Kalios was the, I guess, traditional off tank, so he has a little bit more experience on the Sigma role.
Okay.
I guess that's probably going to be what's... I think that's going to be the play for the side of Genesis, because they won over Runaway with that composition, so why not?
Yeah, so your read is this is a substitution that's indicating it's Sigma play we're going to see. And I think that's pretty good on Shambali. Obviously with some of the choke points, it's more difficult to punish. And I also think it's a composition that you have to rely on the DPS quite heavily to punish. Like you have to outrange, try to break the shield, or outposition like Tracer, who can get behind the Sigma. If you have good dive, you can make that work. And it weakens the enemy tank's agency.
This is a team effort. That's a team effort cheer placard here.
Yeah.
It means Chang Gyun is Decay's legal name, and then Chang over there at the right means he's like the GOAT.
Yeah.
So.
It's basically says he's the GOAT, but it's a kind of play on words as well. And yeah, I think the Sigma here basically means that Argon and Aid have to pop off, and Argon felt pretty invisible in that second round. And in the first round, obviously, there were some issues with him as well, but I feel like the second round, he really didn't show up. But having to outclass the enemy DPS and putting the pressure on Argon and Aid if they are going to run the Sigma can be a way to get an advantage here as Genesis. So wouldn't mind to see that composition.
All right, so I'm just going to read that placard over here. So things to do even after you drink late at night. Number 1, go watch OWCS. Number 2, Hyunjae is, well, what would you call?
Hungover? Or like hangover cure?
Hangover cure. So Hyunjae from SPG is my hangover cure. And then number 3, watch SPG win. And the bold text on the bottom said like, if we lose ... that means usually that means we usually go home together or whatever. No,
sometimes it say die together.
Yeah, die together.
Which often means consuming copious amounts of alcohol. All right, looks like Kalios is finally on the way back from the bathroom. Okay, we got it done. Kalios is like, I had no idea
it's not broken. So, but we are going to Shambali, and ooh, what a beautiful night.
Yeah.
Lunar Colony over there, the lost map.
Could be war. It's not interrupt the fan. Cheers unknown. We gotta let the fan cheers go.
My bad.
I know you're still fairly new Korean sports commentator, but it's a tradition. We have to let them do other plays. I don't know. It just looks like Coruscant to me.
Of course not. Oh man. And no initial, well, they're struggling for high ground because they understand that this high ground is going to be the important part, especially on the initial corner for point A defense. A lot of low health bars on the side of Sunfreeza Gaming. Chisewan is taken out, but is traded out with aid. Kalios fight. Genesis, if they lose this fight, they just give point A for free, which they don't want to. That's why they're committing to this fight. And Aid trying to look for chasing on the Echo here, but chasing on using the terrain really well here. In the end, it takes down Aid takes down Chesuhan, but Tuyu is traded out in the process. So it's actually holding power is in favor of Genesis because they have the tank, and Saprisa doesn't.
And Aid just can't get in position to do anything here, and the range advantage again is definitely feelable right now. Like, you can actually see how little agency Aid can have. He was able to get choice A1 because he went into a building, right? He was actually
like 2.5 fights to win, and then Genji can just farm that Dragon Blade,
yeah.
and then whether there will be an answer for that in Super Gaming. They don't have the Lucio with that sound barrier to counter that Dragon Blade, so this is going to be, I guess, a counter for the side of Genesis here.
Choice A1's always been a great Genji player since the old days. They're just going to hard push straight into Tuyu here.
Yep. Tuyu had to use that grasp here for extra sustain.
And 8's down. I saw that on the flank there on the left side there. Look at how much work he's doing.
Chasing doing a lot of work, like you said, Wolf, and this is one fight already down. This is Tuyu trying to just stay as alive as long as he can.
Gaming just not reacting properly there. As soon as Kalios pushed onto Tuyu, look at Tuyu's ult charge. He did so much damage in that fight. But it doesn't matter because he's pushed on. They try to support the tank, and that gives Choice A1 access to the backline. Immortality Field isn't there to save Aid in time, and he just gets instantly blown up, does very little, and now they have to go operate on this high ground. So it's basically half of the push they need to win this map is already gotten here. And Choice A1's half of a blade. One blade fight with Flux, and that's the end of the game.
Saprisa Gaming, this is the start that this is the start of the fight that they probably want if they want their chances of defending this properly. Yes, Teru uses the rally, probably wants it back as he's not able to save anyone on his team. Saprisa Gaming show signs of life. Yes, they had to use to prevent Flux. However, it was worth it because they have 2 minutes to defend about like.
Yeah, and Aid's risky call there to just drop on to Decay and try to blow him up there could have actually backfired. That's why they had to commit the Flux, because he was out of position and he was going to instantly die if they didn't. But now advantage does go to Genesis, as you mentioned, in terms of ults here coming online. Flux plus Blade, you only have one Immortality Field as Argon is spotted. That's not great, and Simprison need to win this fight basically without ults. You know, Deadeye is allowed, but almost anything else is going to be problematic as Lisuman does commit.
There is going to be the windows from both sides, and then it's going to be Kalios' Flux. Once again, Hunji has to pop the rally. Decay looking for blood, but is in kind of a pinch here as he gets stunned with that shield bash there. Kalios still taking out Lisuman, so this is anyone's fight yet. Chisuan, the question is whether he's going to commit the blade or not. He is going to commit the blade there, and on to 8 taking down. This might be the end of the map. Wolf, as he is slicing and dicing, is not taking any of the kill credits, but Teru bloodthirsty there. However, it is going to be Genesis with, despite the ultimates that Simprisa had, this is just going to be Genesis win, and Genesis already at match.
So they, I mean, maybe I've been watching too much OWCS Japan, but Genesis, man, they look so coordinated. Every single move they made on that final push was so calculated, and it was even used a little bit more subtly than what I was suggesting, where maybe you drop the Flux and then you get the Immortality Field, and then you're able to actually, therefore, Dragon Blade on top of everybody. What they did instead was they did Flux, right? But because of Batiste wants to save the Immortality Field, because he's already thinking ahead of time, like, okay, if I Immortality Field this Flux, then the Dragon Blade kills all of us. So he tried to hold it, and then they instantly pushed on the Batista like, oh, you didn't flux? Well, now you're going to have to or you're going to die. And he fluxes as he dies there, and then they focus it down, and then they know that the only target left they have to kill, they can just ignore two, doesn't matter, is the Cassidy. And then they push the Cassidy, Dragon Blade used on one single target, even just blades and instantly deflects. He's like, if I kill you, we win this map. And he kills him, and they win the map. As the rest of the team is pushing in with one healer down, not much they can do. Very, very, very strong coordination there from Genesis. They look poised to maybe take this series 3-0.
Yeah, it's really impressive. Like, if you compare the performance from Genesis, like, in the round robin stages, this is, like, a totally different team. They are finally living up to their name tags right now. Of course, Chisewan has been struggling a lot in the group stages as well. I mean, not just Chisewan, like, everyone on the side of Genesis, we had a lot of expectations. Maybe we were about, like, before the round robin started, we were talking about, hey, maybe this team can actually contest Falcons and WAC or the like, but then when we got into the group stages, it was like, what? This is not the Genesis that we were promised. Their target acquisition, their target focus was really off, but I think maybe that's a little bit credit of having a coach on the team now with Indine on the lineup. But anyway, generally very good performance from the side of Genesis. Now they are on match point 2-0. SPG needs to pull off a reverse sweep if they want to lock in their playoff hopes. We'll see that. But before that, we go to a short break, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Overwatch Champions Series Korea. We are currently on match point in favor of Genesis here. We once again are looking at the map data here. Of course, I believe that this is at the LCQ only. This is once again going to be SPG's pick. Not sure what they're going to put. Sure what they're going to pick, as it was Owcs Kr that was already chosen from the side of SPG. Now they have Flashpoint, Push, and Hybrid.
Yeah, that is a good question. I feel like if you're Genesis here and you want to rely on Decay, you could just pick Hybrid. You could take us to Dumbani. I feel like it would be very strong for them. You could take us to Midtown as well. And Hollywood is also fine, but I feel like it's a map that teams aren't playing that much right now. So not entirely sure where they will take us, but...
All right, I don't know what the map is, but I do know who is coming in for Genesis right now. So it's going to be... Okay, it's going to be Midtown.
Okay. This is what I expected. And yeah, we will have the substitution.
Kellen's coming back in.
Yeah, Callius and Kellen, so not going to play the Sigma anymore would be the assumption. And I guess this means we could see some Winston. We could see Orisa into Winston.
Yep.
We have seen Doomfist on Midtown in other regions to great success, but I think that's really fallen off. And I think in Korea, we probably just won't see it.
Oh, yeah, believe me, Korea always, they prefer Winston. If Winston Dive is viable in any capacity, they will play it.
Yeah, I think that is very likely what we'll see. And that worries me for Simprisa Gaming, considering that... And actually everything I just said about the map, I was like, oh, this would be good for Decay, blah, blah, blah. It's not even Genesis's pick, so that was actually kind of silly for me to say that. But the fact that we go to a map that's good for Genesis here means I think Simprisa Gaming has made a huge mistake in this map choice, but we'll see if they can rectify that. But if the hope is Aid is going to outclass Decay, he's going to play Sojourn, when we're going to actually play a little bit more of a measured Winston, or maybe even play the Orisa, then I feel like that's your best plan here on Midtown, but you probably shouldn't have put yourself in that position. The problem is that even if you win this map, you have to then reverse sweep with the last maps being chosen, all being Genesis. So you'll have to go to one of these hybrid maps eventually. But I am worried, especially if they're trying to play 2U's Winston into Decay's Cassidy, because Decay has just been so good at shutting that down. He made Mag look like that Winston's made of paper in that series we saw with Runaway.
Especially on Esperanza. Like, if I'm not mistaken, that was really, really impressive stuff from the side of Decay. Now, with Simprisa, with their backs on the wall, of course, they don't look like they're, I guess, too upset. Of course, they have a long way to go, so they have to keep their hopes high. It looks like they are really focused right now, as with Genesis as well. They have smiles on their faces. Understandably, they're up 2-0. However, it looks like we are ready to go to the match. So, ladies and gentlemen, we go to New York, we go to Midtown. All right, this time I didn't mess that up.
You got it. Sometimes the fan cheers are delayed as well, and I get nervous. I'm like, are they going to do it? They got there in the end. Orisa showing for now here for Genesis on the defense. So they're going to be running their own Winston. They are going to keep Decay on Sojourn. Defensively, obviously, Sojourn has huge advantages here over the Cassidy. And they're going to try to set up that cross with the Echo as well. Sojourn and Echo on paper isn't the strongest duo, but they're playing it so well.
Alrighty, now it's time. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going in on the streets of New York and Midtown, as it is going to be a Orisa mirror for both sides. And of course, Simprisa Gaming and Genesis, they have been, this is a trend in this series actually, they have been picking different DPS selections here. Jason-Wan on the Echo.
Yeah, this is just so unique to this team right now, and I'm here for it because the way they've played it so far has been so threatening to the DPS lineup of Simprisa as well as the support line. Hyunjae has been the biggest victim as Aid trying to find an angle here.
Yep, definitely looking for Jason-Wan, but Jason-Wan also on that aggression punishes Aid on that, and that is going to be related, well, just connected to all of the casualties on the side of Simprisa Gaming here, because with having Jason-Wan and then Simprisa losing aid, that's a huge like gap damage output there.
Yeah, I mean, also, I don't think Age should be trying to push an Echo on the high ground with his jump there. But it's just going to give you so many opportunities as Genesis to focus down Aid instead of playing the subtle DPS war. But I guess he just doesn't feel confident he can win against Decay and Choice Elon at range on the attack here. It's only one flub, so there's still a decent time in the bank for Simprisa to make a better, slower push. But I think that call was definitely overzealous.
Yeah, Simprisa Gaming at the current moment is probably Aid is the only one that can actually just shoot down Chiseon, but in the meanwhile, Argon takes down Maka, so this is a start for the side of Simprisa Gaming. Argon also doing a lot of work with taking down Decay, Teru. This may be just the cap here because that's just Genesis is falling without any signs of resistance.
Yeah, playing it that way, a little bit slower, allowing Aid to put threat onto Genesis while Argon actually does the heavy lifting in the backline is actually, I think, a much better approach, and that was probably the call. Maybe Aid thought he saw an angle on Choice Elon where he's like, oh, he's actually alone in there. If I kill him, then I have the high ground and we actually win that longer fight, as we have that huge advantage, but he failed that time. The second time around, Argon does do the heavy lifting, as mentioned. That is going to be the cap. Pretty huge time bank here now for Simprisa Gaming.
Alrighty, and not only do they have a sizable time bank, they also haven't used their ultimates yet. Aid falling down early, but Ilisumen and Hyunjae actually decide to commit here as they use both of their support ultimates, and also the Terra Surge. They definitely absolutely have to win this fight because they used a lot of resources in this fight. Genesis answering with some resources of their own, but Teru falls, Decay falls as well, so this is going to be, once again, a teamfight win for the side of Simprisa Gaming. I thought at first I was questioning the decision of Simprisa Gaming using all of their ultimates, but in the end it was worth it as they will have a free pass onto that tunnel.
And if you lose that fight, you lose tunnel control. It's so incredibly difficult to get it back as Simprisa, so I actually think it was a risky call, as you say, but definitely one I think you should go for as Aid gets taken out by Lucio, but mostly by Decay.
Yeah. I mean, Decay is like getting robbed of the kill credits this series like as a whole.
Definitely.
And well, with that kill, that means a lot because Genesis, despite having given ground on that tunnel, they can recover a lot of space and the high ground on the bridge there. So it is just re-game for the side of Simprisa Gaming. They have to take the high ground again, and that starts with Aid taking down Decay. So this is gonna be Simprisa Gaming pushing out Genesis from the high ground and making their own. So this is step one, and that.
Now they're going to three-man the cart, push around this corner, and Aid can maintain because they got this through so quickly. Line of sight on this choke point. You can see Maka coming out here with a Kitsune Rush.
Genesis, they definitely want to stop the payload before it taps the second point, but Decay taken down once again by Argon. So Simprisa Gaming, finally, like you said, Wolf, they understand. I mean, of course, they would have probably understood what the win condition from Genesis was from the start of the game, but now they're showing signs of executing.
Well, yeah, and Argon's just suddenly actually relevant in this series because for the first two maps he wasn't, but on this one he's punishing some of the overextensions here from Genesis. I think Genesis really being a little bit less disciplined than they were on Shambali. And we move into this map where, you know, Genesis, if they weren't up against such a huge time bank, they probably would have played that a little bit more patiently, but they're so scared that if Simprisa Gaming actually just win that fight outright, if they don't push hard, then they're going to end up falling massively far behind. So they do go for that heavy push, and Argon's there for the backline access. Really good reaction from him. And now the time bank is just as massive as it was. So huge here for SPG.
Exactly. Genesis have a long way to defend. Decay looking for a target on that overclock, but does not have line of sight on multiple members of Simprisa Gaming. Simprisa Gaming also using the sound barrier and the Terra Surge taking down Kellen means that Simprisa Gaming might actually just full push Midtown with the huge time bank.
And I was worried about the map read here in terms of seemed better for Genesis, seemed better for Decay, but Simprisa Gaming actually seemed to know these angles incredibly well. And this is the first map in the series so far that's felt like is their map, you know? And we're seeing so many different times, you know, Kellen get out of position or Decay get picked by Argon. And once again, ooh, okay,
just taken down very early. Teru has, well, using the sound barrier, they just want more, I guess, they just want a bigger teamfight win, and they do get it by the form of 2. I do have a feeling that it was a little bit too extra on that sound barrier. However, they make it happen. They make the teamfight win happen.
Yeah.
They just stabilize a little bit.
They just want to guarantee the fight there is theirs, and they know that Hyunjae also doesn't have sound barrier for a while, and they should actually be able to match that fairly well as long as they don't make any huge mistakes. So this is not the most egregious overextension on sound barrier that we've ever seen. Definitely not necessary, but not going to necessarily going to matter as watching Aid right now because he's the only one who really get an opening pick here. As Tuyu's getting all the heals right now as they slow push towards the cart.
All right, there is that Simprisa Gaming Casino Rush that opens up the fight. Genesis is
Kellen
looking for a disengage, but Kellen didn't get the memo and is being picked out. Everyone on the side of Genesis was backing out, but Kellen just went in and was just an easy target for the side of Simprisa Gaming. And I think that's going to cost them the defense, and it is going to be Simprisa Gaming who is going to full cap Midtown. And wow.
Kellen playing that like it was Hanamura B, man. Why was he over there? Like, he was so far up. The rest of his team was trying to push around, and maybe he was supposed to be bait, where then Aid and Argon end up like trying to focus him down, and then Decay gets an angle. But this has just been 2U diff so far on this map. This Terra Surge absolutely massive on the first push, and this is when the Terra Sound Barrier got no value. He thought maybe it would save his teammates there, but they were way out of position. And then Argon getting those critical picks leading into B are also very, very huge onto Decay. But then that last one, that Kellen well, I don't even want to call it overextension. His team's going one way. He's trying to hold on to the cart there. Very bizarre in terms of what Genesis were set up there. Again, I think maybe trying to set up for Decay to have an angle on the other side, but Simprisa just instantly punish him. And it's not the first time in this series, especially on Control, we saw on Nepal, Kellen with some interesting decisions made. When I was watching the Runaway series as well, I was like, okay, well, Kellen, he's making some choices on the Winston that I don't really agree with. This one ends up costing them the finish, and it's an insane time bank, 1:48. So Genesis now have to push to the end, and then we'll have to hope that they can match that time bank. Otherwise, Simprisa going to make a big comeback.
Yep, and this may be the start of a potential reverse sweep here, but that remains to be seen, as it is going to be doors opening for the side of Genesis attack this time. No major changes in composition except for the fact that Tracer1 is going to be on the Tracer instead of the Echo start that they had on the defense. It is looking likely to be a Sojourn fight until the ultimates come online, and there is that railgun does connect, but not a headshot. So Aid will be able to be healed up by his teammates and find another railgun of his own, and that is going to be on Chasewan. That's going to be a lot of pressure, and that's going to be a lot of momentum going towards the side of Simprisa Gaming.
We're starting to see some communication issues here on Genesis. Like, Choice1 was still pushing Aid there, even though they were losing the tank fight. He needed to actually come and support against 2U so that Kellen could actually win the control. And then he ended up failing pretty hard at it and decided to commit anyways. And Aid saw Choice1 a mile away as the rest of the team was disengaging and just instantly takes him out. Good eyes from Aid, good reaction there, but Genesis need to be working more as a squad. And Echo was working on defense, but on attack, you need that Tracer to be crisp.
Yep, and that is going to be very important. Like you said, once again, Kellen in a very awkward position. He's surrounded, but his teammates did finally get into it. Kellen does fall down, but just on shits out Aid. But the lack of a tank means that it's going to be a lot of control lost for the side of Genesis, and it is going to be Simprisa Gaming who is going to clean up this fight.
And this is the nightmare scenario for Genesis because you already need to have such a massive time bank if you're ever going to come back and win this map. And now you've lost so much time, and 2 has Terra Surge advantage as the defenders. They're going to have Sound Barrier to match yours as well, and we'll be able to use it likely second here. And you're already losing out the tank war before you get to the point. So this feels so horrible right now for Genesis. They need Decay to have one of those clutch moments here, or this time bank is just not going to be anything like Simprisa.
There is maybe that potential start there. Decay with the overclock, looking for some headshot targets. Gunjay using the Sound Barrier for extra sustain, and is already Teru and Kellen out of the picture here. So Decay, despite his efforts on making a clutch play here, does not make it happen. And Wolf, we're already like sub 2 minutes now.
Yeah, I mean their attack time is now lower than the full time bank here for Simprisa on completion for A. As Choice1's also going to get punished here. This team's got to regroup. I want to see Decay swap to Cassidy, to be honest. I don't think they're going to win this tank war without his extra DPS. He's trying to get flank angles, but 2U is just way outclassing Kellen right now. I think Decay has a better chance of just winning that straight-up firefight with 2U's help, or against 2U with Kellen's help on the Cassidy than trying to make this Sojourn work. That can't work until they get to the point, and they're dying every time they try. It's not Decay's fault. But I feel like this Sojourner just isn't offering them a whole lot.
Yep, and to make things worse, it is going to be A that is going to start up the aggression with the overclock. Has to slide back a little bit for breathing ground. However, it is enough. The threat of the headshot is going to be enough to keep Genesis at bay and buy a little bit of time. And time is something that Genesis doesn't have. Argon is going to recall and just join his team and shooting at multiple members of Genesis, and it looks like Genesis is going to lose out this fight once again, and with only 40 seconds left.
I mean, we might be in a full hold here at this point, Unknown, because Argon played that Tracer 1v1 so well. It was risky the way he held his recall there, but he was able to basically make sure that Choice of One doesn't kill him no matter what. Even if he doesn't win the fight, keep the Tracer occupied while the tank pushes through. Chu gets a lot of value in that fight. Then Decay is off on his own, isolated. You got those delayed kills. Terra Surge is going to be ready for Chu if he wants to use it on the point, but getting to the point has been the issue here for Genesis.
Yes, they haven't had a lot of luck getting into the point. This is going to be the opener for the side of Genesis. They are going to use the Kitsune Rush, yes, to use Terra Surge. Did not get a lot of value. Kellen also uses his, but it's going to be Argon that is going to be the man of the moment as he takes down two already at a two-member disadvantage. Kellen falls as well, so it's going to be desperation touch for the side of Genesis. However, it doesn't look like anyone is going to be left for the touch here. And yes, Decay uses the overclock, but it's not going to be enough as Semprisa Gaming, they come back.
This series is giving me some chills, man. I feel like the way that Semprisa Gaming is playing right now is so smart. They're playing to their strengths, and I didn't really foresee how the attack was going to go there for Genesis, of how broken up it was going to be, and I think Kellen got way more impactful. He's playing around his Orisa's Terra Surge better. The whole focal point for Genesis in that moment is how do we kill.
Didn't see this coming, and SPG, we've talked about how they knew that how to nullify the win conditions of Genesis, and they executed this to almost perfection, I would say, in Midtown. And it looks now eyes are going to be the new question is going to be whether they can keep that up in Genesis's map, because now right now if they want to complete a reverse sweep, they have to go back to back Genesis map picks. But we'll see that after a short break, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Overwatch Champions Series Korea. We're currently on map 4 of the first series of the day. And Wolf, this is not a 3-0.
It's not a 3-0, no 3 Overwatch in this series, as we have only Flashpoint and Push left in terms of maps that Genesis can pick here. My read was we're probably going to Push, and the reason why is because this team seems to operate better on narrow points, because as we saw on Shimbali, it allows Decay and Choi Se-won to actually just kind of rip apart the enemy DPS line and not worry about the tank. They obviously had Kalios in for the Sigma there as well, but Kellen's Orisa definitely pretty exposed on that last map, not looking like he and his team are coordinated well with that pick. And if you want to play Push, then you can at least avoid the Orisa equation. Like, yeah, you probably still play Orisa there, but you can play it slower. We're going to Esperanza.
Ooh, Esperanza. Yeah, I mean, we've been talking during the break about which maps potentially Genesis is going to pick, because this is pretty much the first time Genesis is going to pick the map. And Esperanza, like Wolf, with his expert analysis, he actually predicted it right. No, I'm not even joking, because he did. And with the reasons that he said, I think it totally makes sense and gives a lot of, I guess, the more narrow the map is, I guess, the more opportunities that Decay has to make things happen. And of course, Genesis still, despite losing one map, is still ahead, and it doesn't look like they're going to change their game plan anytime soon.
Yeah. No, I hope Decay is on Cassidy as well, because I think that is how you can win the tank matchup without your tank. You can just be like, well, I'll kill the tank with you, Kellen. Let's do it together. Let's kill to you and win the series.
Well, so let's just see if they have that communication. Maybe, I mean, I haven't heard that they have any issues with their headsets, but suddenly it looks like in map 3, their comms were looking a little spotty over there. I mean, not probably a hardware issue, but in just a systematic, I guess, issue there. But we'll definitely see, because Genesis, after, like, especially since yesterday, we've seen massive improvements from the side. Not just in their mechanical skills, it was already there, but we'll see if their team coordination is coming back. But ladies and gentlemen, we go to Esperanza.
Kellen showing the Winston, and Sinprisa having to use though on this Orisa still. I think Aid will probably swap off of the Ashe he is showcasing now. Yeah, I was gonna say, please don't do it to me. I did see Runaway try.
Ooh, I was about to shout, we are going in, but ladies and gentlemen, we are not going in yet.
We are not going in.
Oh, we did. Oh, did he spill something? Oh, probably. By the looks of it, it looks like Hyunjae spilled something. Probably, right?
Yes.
A gamer moment.
Gamer moment. Someone on his team made a funny joke and he just spat water all over the desk.
Yeah, they were probably like having a bets on, hey, or is Wolf going to kind of like talk about me, or is Unknown going to just shout that weird shout over there? But it was like probably just yank the bottle with his ankle or something like that. Ooh.
She believes into you.
Upgrade complete. That's impressive.
That's cool. Oh, it's the girl from earlier.
Mm-hmm. Ooh. I think they're having an interaction with the Korean casters over there.
Yeah.
But wait, what's that upgrade though? Is Symmetra or?
I'm not sure.
Because it's Aid. It should be DPS.
Yeah. I mean,
I thought it was a Diva early on, but then I was like, wait, that's Aid.
It looks like it could be a Farah as well, like the suit, but I didn't get like closest look at it, as I love this water cam.
Yep.
So this does happen in esports from time to time. A spill does occur, as a lot of players drink water, a lot of players drink coffee actually while they're playing. In Korea, like ice Americanos, even in the winter, you got that on your desk. But it's funny because we don't really have like any sort of, and this goes for not just Overwatch, but all esports in Korea. We don't really have any penalties for like accidents that occur with your hardware with liquids or food. because this issue does happen so rarely, but it happens like once or twice a year,
Oh,
where somebody
yeah, yeah.
spills. And my fear is that one day, like, drinks will be banned in esports because of some like crazy finals or something where somebody spills water and it actually affects the outcome of the game. Because in this case, like, we're walking out of the spawn doors, it's not a big deal. But if it's like game 7 of the finals and like someone's trying to go for a back cap and somebody spills water, like, that's when drinks get banned. I'm worried. All right.
But bans are not going to happen tonight. But finally, we are going in on Esperanza. That was a little bit short because we are already going into the action as Decay just figured out somehow that, okay, Sojourn ain't it, and it just goes back to the Cassidy, which we love to see, by the way.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to see, as now he can deal with Tuyu a little bit more directly himself. It is going to be tough to play this Winston into the Orisa Sojourn, and coordination will be required. I think a lot of pressure on Maka. We haven't really spent that much time talking about Maka today, but he is going to be the one who has to keep Kellen alive. The nano boosts have to be well timed.
Yep. And of course, Maka did not see that coming. He was zooming in and Aid taking out Maka swiftly, but Decay actually answers back with 2 kills of his own. So this is actually going to be an advantage and a team fight win for the side of Genesis. Both DPS on the side of Genesis popping off, and it is going to be Tuyu who's going to be taking out the latest and having the longest time in the death chamber. Well, not the longest time, but it's going to be the latest to come out of the death chamber.
And he's one of the slowest heroes, so Hyunjae's going to have to taxi him back, but that's going to be a long push here. Good capitalization there by Decay of the fact that, you know, his DPS line was, or he had freedom considering Aid leapt onto the high ground and made an aggressive play. Yes, he did end up losing Maka, but he was able to punish. Really well played. Decay's Cassidy, man, today has been so impressive. Was in the series against Runaway as well, and imagine that he will stick with his pick a little bit longer.
Oh, that was nasty from the side of Decay. Aid knew that he was going to get hit by Cassidy, but not to this extent. And Tuyu gets taken down. Yes, he is punished by Lee Sumin, but wait a second. Senprisa Gaming actually making some kills happen on the board. Genesis, however, it looks like they will be winning the fight and getting that further push. And we've always talked about this with 9K on push maps. The second fight is actually going to be the most important part because the push after the bridge is going to be... This means that the high ground is going to be 100% in Genesis's control.
Yeah, and if they can get the spawn as well, the checkpoint, that is massive. Aid will avoid this pulse bomb here, but see what this next fight looks like, because last one was definitely all Decay again. Deadeye used to reload basically there and make sure he can maximize damage on the 2. Was very clean. Maka remains on high ground here, as you say, and they can just slow play this.
Yep, and Senprisa Gaming knows this. They want to keep the pace a little bit up because they are using the Kitsune Rush for the opener, and Genesis using the Nano Boost on Decay. And Decay that, well, Electrified Cowboy is doing a lot of damage. And once again, it is going to be Genesis who is going to have the upper hand in this fight. Yes, Tuyu is trying his best to hold as long as possible, but it is going to be just delaying the inevitable as Tuyu falls, Lee Sumin falls, Argon falls, everyone on the side of Senprisa Gaming falls. The only consolation, I guess, is that Senprisa Gaming now has both DPS ultimates.
I mean, this is the way to deal with Tuyu. Just put Decay on the Cassidy here, and then he can just burst him down. Like, Tuyu actually played that so well. Super patient, fortifies, drops down to low ground, minimizes the surface area for people to shoot at him. Only Decay could shoot at him. He has to chase him in. He bought a ton of time, but there's no follow-up. But this is just the way, as Aid is going to overclock here, but no great targets for now.
But is hindered by the Cassidy grenade. Argon takes down Kellen, so that is a start. Aid, anti-needed, so has to move down. Decay finding out Hyunjae and a sleek headshot. This evens out things a lot, Wolf, because now Genesis will be having the other side of the high ground, and probably by the time the robot approaches the bridge, Kellen will be back.
Yeah, this is really good for them. It's Tuyu trying to buy some space here, but is alone. And you can't do that into a Cassidy, especially with Ana. Oh, that sound barrier, though.
It had to be used to keep Tuyu alive, but unfortunately that was not enough to keep Tuyu alive. Argon, but still, it bought Senprisa Gaming enough time for the DPS lineup to take out members of Genesis, so that was a really well executed sound barrier that saved the game.
Was actually so good, and it was perfectly timed. Like, they had the purple onto Tuyu. He was down at like 20% health, and then that's when the Sound Barrier comes in as Genesis are over pushing to try to guarantee the kill there. Sound Barrier timing, fantastic.
Ooh, Chizuan taking down there is going to hurt Genesis a lot because this means that they're probably going to lose a lot of pressure and have to back off a little bit. Yep, like they said. Ooh. Oh wait, Maka! I thought that nade was to heal up Kellen, but in the end it takes down Argon and Hyunjae taking down once again. So it looked good for Simprisa for a split moment when Chaseon fell, but in the end, Genesis, before Simprisa Gaming could match the push of the on the side of Genesis, they made things happen, and they're in the driver's seat once again.
Now, I don't think Kellen should have primaled there, but they do have a nano boost, so it's not going to feel too terrible, but those don't feel like there was any real reason to do that in that fight. Can actually be used to contest as well on this high ground for the next one, because Simprisa obviously going to reset up here. But at the end of the day, Maka now has so much agency here. He's going to go for the nano.
This time the recipient is going to be Kellen and Decay. Even without that nano, it's going to take out Aid. Decay on this Cassidy is such a menace on the side of Genesis here. And now Genesis is going to contest probably for the initial cap on the checkpoint. Simprisa Gaming obviously doesn't want that to happen. Tuyu very low, Hyunjae very low as well. Tuyu is fortified with that Terra
Argon though.
Argon!
They overextend into the choke. He gets a triple on the back line. Massive play from Argon there, as they will not repeat the same Tuyu bait a second time. This time there's no sound barrier. Tuyu is holding that doorway so incredibly well, but Argon is able to flank around, and this is just such a crushing blow now to Genesis.
Yup, that was the nano push from the Winston there, and it looked like a foregone conclusion that Genesis was going to win.
Yeah, I don't see, like, the ways that Kellen is using these tools has left them a little bit out to dry. So then they have to hard commit, hard push, and this time finally punished by Argon. Decay with Deadeye.
All right, Aid on the overclock, but it's slept, and it's going to be Hyunjae that has to pay the price by Decay on the Deadeye. Such good usage of the skill sets of Cassidy here. And once again, Simprisa Gaming was so close to matching that progress of Genesis, but once again, falls short. Decay.
Aid is going to swap to Cassidy, and so they're going to try to match this rip. Now, this is the air quotes counter to the Winston, and with how Kellen is playing, he looks very punishable right now. I'm a little bit surprised we didn't see this earlier on, but the time is so limited here for Simprisa Gaming, but I do think this is a good swap. Let's see if they can actually make this work. They're, of course, down sound barrier now. It's going to be all about the focus on Kellen here, and this means Maka's work is really tougher. He still has the nano, so you should be able to save him once, but once that's gone, see if Kellen can survive.
There is that nano for the aggression here. It looks like Aid is going to fall down, and off-screen, the DPS duo of Genesis is going to take out everyone else and on the side of Simprisa Gaming.
This fight was the one you knew was going to go this way because of the nano boost advantage. The next fight, if they lose this one, Simprisa loses this one, it looks like Genesis is winning the series because you don't have any other tools. Tuyu's even going to swap for this fight over to Junker Queen here to really push the issue and he'll deny Kellen so they can focus him down. That's what he wants to do with his ultimate, but they obviously have to win the first fight to even get that ult charge. So a tall ask here, but there's still a sliver of hope for Simprisa Gaming, but this fight has to go well. Argon looking for a pulse angle.
Yeah, he has good memories about this pulse. He is spotted though. And looking for, Kellen in the meanwhile is having fun dribbling people around. Argon, and despite being spotted, does take down Maka. However, Chasewan answers with the 2U kill. Lee Sumin decides to commit with the Katsuna rush, and Aid is profiting from that. However, they still have a long way to go. Remember,
they do, but they got rid of the primal. There is no nano boost for the next defense. 2U did a decent amount of damage there. They're going to have sound barrier as well. Kellen's actually going to swap. Now, this is a really greedy call. I actually almost feel like that gives a bigger edge to Simprisa because if Cassidy focuses down this Doomfist with good coordination, it is so difficult for this comp to actually work here for Genesis. But Kellen feels desperate here. Let's see what he can get done. Has a nice angle.
And also a nice nade towards Simprisa Gaming, but Lee Sumin cleanses it, but has to pay his life for it. However, still, numbers advantage for the side of Simprisa Gaming so far, and this is actually going to be a team fight win for the side of Simprisa.
This is what I'm saying. Like, you switch to the Doomfist here, it's super risky. He had a nice angle, but they actually split super well, and then the DPS line here for Genesis was actually corralled there. Argon did so much work. Choice Juan here just going to scout the position here, see if they can actually make this Doomfist dive successful. Otherwise, this is going to be a huge win for Simprisa Gaming. It's going to have to be an overtime push here to actually win the map, but they have the tools, they have control right now.
They also capped the point. Yes, they do have to wait about like 8 seconds for the bot to scratch his butt, but so no, well, yeah, they literally do, and it's going to be overtime. But one teamfight win for the side of Simprisa Gaming will be able to turn things around.
Oh, absolutely. And let's see what 8 can get done here. Argon waiting for his opportunity here. They need to focus 8. He's got Deadeye on him.
There is that nano decay. But
Kellen
is taken down by the Deadeye. Teru has popped the rally because he knows it's going to be the last fight. To you. So low, but is able.
He's got
to survive
Rampage.
And got the Rampage on to 2 members. Decay cannot be healed. Decay is going to fall. And whoa, this is going to be the ultimate turnaround for the side of Simprisa Gaming.
Kellen, he's pushing into aid when he's got Sound Barrier and Deadeye. It's never going to work. He gets focused down. All the heals are there onto Tuyu. It's not over just yet. Still have a few more meters to go here, but they have a massive advantage as Genesis trickling. Kellen's down
again, and it is going to be chasing on, taken out by the pulse bomb, no less. 8 takes down Teru, and Wolf, we have a map 5 on our hands. Simprisa Gaming refuses to go down, and wow, what a comeback.
And I said it before, and I'll say it again, and I said it before this series started, Tuyu greater than the tank lineup on the side of Genesis. This time Kellen, obviously for the last 2 maps, but Kellen outclassed on the Winston, and when the swap came through, that swap, East obviously, so he's not going to have any immortality fields or anything like that, but you have to be able to push on to aid, and every time it was just aid free firing into Kellen while the rest of the team can't get line of sight, and the coordination wasn't there, and Tuyu played that series, or the last 2 maps, way better than his counterpart, and now we're going to a fifth game where if things don't change quickly here, if they don't switch to Sigma and put Kalios in, I think that Simprisa Gaming actually do reverse sweep. I think they actually do win this series.
Yeah, now actually the nerves are going to be on the favor, I guess, not on the favor of Genesis now, because they're the one that has one map, 2 maps in a row, but now it's just they're already 1 map away from going back to the lower bracket. Wow, the pressure is there, but it's going to be map 5, Wolf, and this is going to decide it all. It's going to be Genesis map pick, but before that, we're going to a short break, so chat, don't go anywhere. We're going to map 5. Welcome back to Overwatch Champion Series Korea, and Wolf, we have a full series on our hands, and it is going to be Soravasa, Genesis pick, Genesis third map pick in a row. The first two hasn't been so successful, but will Soravasa be successful? That's going to be the question. It has to be successful in order for them to win.
I mean, we might have a reverse sweep on our hands. I think all the momentum, as you mentioned before we went to the break, is in SPG's favor. They are 2 in a row, and like, if anyone's competed, if you've ever competed in anything, especially anything that's set base like this, it is way easier to actually finish the reverse sweep than it is to prevent it. From a psychological standpoint, like Genesis have lost 2 in a row, 2 one-sided maps in a row, by the way. At Midtown, they were crushed. Esperanza, they were crushed in a different way, where they actually had full control, had a rough time with Kellen, then he swapped to Doomfist, and then everything just slipped through their fingers. Those are the worst way to lose a map before going into the final map of the series. There's not going to be a substitution. We're not going to have Kalios in. Doesn't look like they're going to run Sigma. But this tank battle has to go better, because Decay is trying his best to carry, man. He's hitting his headshots. He's doing his job. But the team sometimes just gets split. And Kellen is going to have to communicate more. Or I think Sinprisa Gaming is going to complete the reverse sweep.
Yeah, there's only so much a man can do by himself. He needs the help of his, I guess, sidekicks or fellow teammates of whatever you want to label them. However, I agree that Genesis, they showed some good things in the earlier parts of this series. They need to get that back if they want to prevent that reverse sweep. But if you just flip the coin a little bit, Sinprisa Gaming, they are finally having the momentum on their side. To you, looking absolutely solid on his tank position right now. Also, like Argon, looking like he's actually really shining. But we'll see how that series goes, how the conclusion of the series is going to go. We are going to Soravasa.
This is it, down to 1 final map. I spent a lot of my early Overwatch days watching Decay try to clutch out playoffs. Kongdu Panthera days were where he really cut his teeth and was a player that clutched it out a ton of the time. And maybe once again he'll do it here. So we'll have a pause. So not just yet, but Decay is a player who's been on teams throughout a lot of his career where his individual talent wasn't able to overshine the rest of the squad. And, you know, whether it was him playing Cassidy back then or whether it was him playing Genji, obviously, he was often the main character. Zarya in the GOATS era, like, he was the guy. He's just been so incredible at being the pivotal, as you put it earlier, the sword that the team wields. The problem is the rest of the armor feels a little weak, feels a little bit bleak here for the sharpest sword that is on in our server right now, because we have 10 players, right? Decay, I feel like, has arguably been by far the highest value player. Like, he's done like twice as what Aid or Archon has done so far in these first 4 maps of Overwatch. But if the tank line doesn't actually work with him, if the support line is not communicating, then it doesn't matter. And that is the story that we're telling right now. And not to say that Choi Se-won hasn't also been valuable, because he certainly has.
Yep. Well, just want to give a shout out to that cheerful over there about Hyunjae. Well, Hyunjae means president in the Korean, so. But we are going into the match, and there we go, ladies and gentlemen. We are going in on Soravasa, as this is going to be the final map. There is no possible draw in this map. This is going to be it. And we are seeing an Orisa mirror here.
Yeah, it is going to be the Orisa mirror. And once again, Decay, Choi Se-won running the Sojourn Echo to give that cross. Reliant on DPS here. And actually getting access to the back line, as the tank line up here for Sinprisa allows Aid to have a ton of agency if they can get to the point. Argon trying to flank here to set up that push. And so far, so good for Sinprisa Gaming, getting exactly where they want to be on this Orisa, as Argon continues to threaten.
Yep, Argon trying to harass the backline on the side of Genesis here. The Suzu has to be used for survivability on the backline, and this kind of gives a lot of pressure in favor of Sinprisa Gaming, so they get the first cap, and it is Genesis who has to do the retake.
A lot of great play from Argon to give them that positional advantage. They're going to have to relinquish it now as Decay is trying to find Aid. Messes it up, though.
Yep, well, Aid trying to find some targets here, but no casualties on the side of Genesis yet. Decay very low, Chasing on very low as well, but he is in the duplicate form, so he will not be taken out immediately. But despite Genesis using a few ultimates here, they have to commit the Kitsune Rush as well, answered by the sound barrier. Still, point control in favor of Simpresa Gaming. 2 members down simultaneously from the side of Simpresa Gaming. So Genesis will be finally able to get that flip that they wanted, but it is already 68%. Remember, Flashpoint is, progress goes a lot quicker than control.
Much faster. Now, I do think that was a really patient, long game plan there from Genesis. Choice one swapping over to the duplicated Orisa, bought them some space there. Teru held the sound barrier. Simpresa Gaming have ult advantage in air quotes, but not really because they can't get onto the point easily without Kitsune Rush. So I still favor Genesis for this next fight here, especially with Decay up on this high ground, can spot out every angle that Argon is taking. Deadeye going to be attempted.
Using Deadeye, but okay.
No angle, and they know where he is because they have a spotter on the high ground in Decay.
But I guess it did give enough space for Simpresa to flip the point, but Decay is going to use the
huge
overclock. Yeah, huge javelin there to deny Decay of the high ground, and a lot of angles there. Oh, so I believe that was saved by the Suzu there. It's a good play, but however, Decay and Kellen is taking down both of their counterparts, so this is going to be a team fight win. Yes, the overtime is going to tick. However, Genesis is going to assume control of the point, and this is going to be last fight for the first point here, arguably here.
And same issue as last time. Decay is going to have the high ground. Aid is going to swap over to the Sojourn, which I think is the right call in this case to try to challenge Decay. He will have to win that 1v1, which has never been easy, and he hasn't really been doing it on his own. It's often just been off the backs of better positioning of his team, but if he actually ends up winning that 1v1, that's their best bet. As here comes another Orisa.
So they know that having 2 Orisas is going to be huge in denying a lot of the ground here. However, Simpresa Gaming successfully goes into the point. However, they lose 8, and Argon, last second recall there, well, survives long enough for TU to take out the entirety of Genesis, well, most of the Genesis roster here, and overtime is there. Kellen there, but very low. At a sliver of health is taken down, finished off by Argon here, and it looks like Simpresa is going to finish off the first point.
He is given so many resources by his supports, but he comes up big every time. 1 Orisa versus 2, doesn't matter. He still wins that fight. And it's almost as if Choice A1 has just decided, well, if Kellen is not going to win this tank matchup, I'll do it for him. And he's like, I'm the tank player also. He's like, I can do this, but it's not working. And Simpresa Gaming win that fight super patiently as well there. They win the first flashpoint, and now Genesis trying to rush over here for the contest as it unlocks in 15 seconds. We'll have a little bit of a neutral fight, but this has been where they have struggled the most to see if Decay can find an angle, line of sight, maybe access Hyunjae, deny him from sound barriering. Could be a great way to open up this fight.
Well, speaking of openers, Mako uses the Kitsune for the opener. It is going to be answered by the sound barrier. So Terra also commits with the sound barrier of his own, and TU, despite using that Terra Surge, is going to be taken down, melted down by Chisehwan, and Kellen takes down. So this is initial control assumed by Genesis.
Yeah.
Good play by Genesis, and now they have grounds to keep their ult economy running now.
A little bit overzealous to sound barrier that earlier as Hyunjae is Genesis, and then they feel priced into the fight. We committed sound barrier first. We have to kill him as soon as possible, otherwise they just counter sound barrier. They counter with sound barrier, and TU committed his ultimate there, hoping that positional advantage that he had would have been enough, but he was focused down. Great play from Choice A1 to actually make the call. It looked like it was his call. Focus TU. We win this.
Ooh, Decay
down he goes.
Down. Good javelin from TU. TU once again showing his prowess on the Orisa here and using that numbers advantage to open up the fight. However, Hyunjae is taken down. So this is, but Terra taken down, traded out as well. So despite Hyunjae having been taken down, this is going to be a Simpresa Gaming win.
TU, man, he does it again. The javelin is massive. He pushes Decay out, and then Argon gets access. Every time they push Decay back, that's when Argon strikes, and he has just been so good at finding these flank angles. And it feels like it's a TU Argon show here right now for SPG. They keep pulling this off. Now, Decay is going to have overclock for this fight, but it will be matched by AIDS if he does want to commit.
Aid uses the overclock first, and he probably wants to just scare out the entirety of Genesis. However, Aid is taken down by Decay on his own overclock, and Decay looking for more members. Simpresa Gaming, Lee Sumin is down, so this is this is probably going to be second point going, not just being flipped over to Genesis, but it's going to be secured by the side of Genesis.
It's secured, but is it captured fully is the question. They have the Terra Surge here, and I think some Prison Gamer will give it a good old college try here. I don't think they're going to commit anything but that Terra Surge, even if they build it in the longer fight, because it'll probably be lost for them. Like, if Hyunjae gets a sound barrier, that means the fight went too long. You probably lose those. Well, let's see. I think they have one good opportunity to contest. It's going to be a touch from Argon.
And, okay, Maka has to commit. The Sooner Rush, they know, they understand this, and Prisa Gaming really wants this. Tuyu is Tuyu going to use that Terror Surge? Yes, the answer is going to be yes, but does not find any targets. And Lee Sumin is going to use the the Kitsune Rush on their own. However, Decay and Chisoan doing a lot of work in taking down Tuyu and Argon. Kellen is going to take down 8 as well. So despite the commitment from Sim Preset Gaming, second point is going to be secured by Genesis. It is going to be one-on-one on Flashpoint. We are not going anywhere for the moment.
That was carried by Choi Se-won. He tracked Argon, and when Tuyu decided to go for the Terra Surge, Argon flanked like he has been. I think they're starting to read the playbook. Choi Se-won just instantly focused him down before he could actually recall out of there. Obviously out of blinks because he used it to touch the point, and he has to be the one to do that. So Genesis reading the Tracer play there extremely well around Tuyu. And like I said, if you build Sound Barrier in that fight, it means the fight is lost. Hyunjae builds it, but doesn't use it, holds it here, can use it for the contest here of neutral, as he has that massive advantage over Teru right now. He should be aware of this.
Yep, it looks like it just looking at the old economy here at Sim Priestley Gaming, looks like they should be having an advantage over the first fight on the Flashpoint, third Flashpoint here. 8 takes down Kellen for I don't know how, but well, it worked.
We do know. Ultimately, even if we don't want to say it, Kellen was pushing up with his squad there to try to buy space, even though they didn't have the tools, the advantages, the positioning to actually do so, and he was punished on his retreat there. He does have Terra Surge, so I understand the kind of gumption, okay, let's get in, like, I want to open this up with Terra Surge. I don't want to give him too much percentage, but Simprisa once again punish. Decay doesn't have a great line of sight here. Tuyu once again positioning fantastic.
Oh, another javelin connects. Tuyu is so good with these javelins here. Chiseon once again trying to assume the role of tank here. However, the question is whether it's going to be can Chiseon build the Terra Surge of his own? Maybe not, but Decay going to use Overclock, looking for some headshot kills, but yes, countered by the barrier here, and Lee Sumin also going to commit. They know that if they win this fight, this is going to be point for in favor of Simprisa Gaming. So this is probably looking at things going right now. It is going to be Simprisa going to secure
and now
the third point.
If you're Decay, you are so angry with how this series has been going. You've been doing your best. You've been fighting as hard as you can. You've been finding the flank angles. You've been hitting the shots, but the tank lineup isn't getting it done, even with 2 tanks. And now you're feeling the pressure because it's one flashpoint away from you losing this series. The reverse sweep is complete if that happens. The sound barrier was perfect from Hyunjae Tuyu, just outplaying them, hard carrying this final map. Kellen, let's see what he can get with his Surge.
Tuyu, the Terra Surge, 2 Terra Surges used both, and it is going to be 8 who's going to fall first. So this is going to be early advantage for the side of Genesis that they desperately need if they want to keep this series going.
The Kitsune Rush advantage there ended up coming in clutch for Genesis. They should be able to get this point without a contest here from 0 as it's opened. And now Simprisa actually will contest with Argon. Okay, that's not successful, unfortunately for them. That was kind of a strange choice. But anyway, let's see what they can get done, because they need to be so efficient here with this sound barrier. And if they can hold it, that would be ideal.
Yep, and Argon always, we've already seen Argon with some clutch pulse bombs. We'll be looking to replicate that. Kellen taken. Wow, that, like, the pulse bomb did not finish Kellen, but it did enough damage for the side of Simprisa Gaming to just win the fight. Teru didn't even have time to use the sound barrier, and probably, like, was lucky for that.
I mean, the thing is, like, when I say save the sound barrier, be super efficient with it, I don't mean, like, when you're in dire straits getting hard pushed and your tank is losing the tank war, hold it there, as they do end up doing so much damage to the pulse bomb, as you mentioned, from Argon there. He does have the sound barrier, but it's tougher to get value out of it now that Hyunjae actually has his nearly charged up from that previous fight. This almost feels like checkmate here at this point.
Oh, well, Decay says no to that. And as Decay is doing so much to keep his team from losing here, and it is going to be Chiseon. Yes, the stick was there. The stick was there. However, it was on the Orisa, I think. But Kellen, once again, taken out of place. Teru used a sound barrier, but a little...
8's doing it without even overclocking. He isn't even overclocking. Now he has. You got to win these.
All right, Teru taking down, but Decay took out Tuyu here. Hyunjae use the sound barrier of his own here, so it is still...
Genesis in trouble.
Yep.
This might just be it.
Yeah, it's 92% Wolf, and is there anyone to touch?
I mean,
No,
he can't. And Genesis, they did not respect Tuyu's Orisa in this final game, and Sin Priza will complete the reverse sweep and advance in the bracket. Huge win for them. A team that came into this last chance qualifier 2-6. Last time around, were able to 3-0 Genesis, but coming into today, Genesis' form looked better. They did beat Runaway, right, leading into this. And people were saying, okay, might be a Genesis 3-0. After game 1, felt like, okay, we're on track. Game 2, dominant performance from Decay on Shambali. And then suddenly, that's when the tank gap shows. Sin Prisa Gaming, a well-deserved reverse sweep win here. And they made it look easy in those last 3 maps. And unfortunately for Decay and the rest of the squad, I think there's a lot of going back to the drawing board that needs to be done here, and the tank lineup has to improve. Otherwise, they are really going to struggle. See who player of the match is.
I definitely think it... Okay, was Argon. Maybe...
Tuyu was robbed. Tuyu was robbed.
No, well, but look, I voted for Argon probably, but it was... No, I did vote for Argon, but probably the reason why I got that was that big pulse bomb on Esperanza.
So the pulse bomb was massive, and it is definitely going to be in these highlight clips. I think that it was going to be Argon or Tuyu, because Tuyu set up Argon incredibly well. Argon set up Tuyu incredibly well and helped him win the tank battles. Argon in the first 2 maps was relatively invisible, but he really came online on Midtown, and then from that point on, he looked